What is font hierarchy in games and why should I care? Well, great question, imaginary person. Font hierarchy is the visual structure of words in a text of some kind. Imagine I have a pile of documents and I want to find the one about fonts. How would I do that? Without a font hierarchy, I would have to read each document to completion and work out if it's the one I'm looking for. Once I get the document, I now want to learn about the origin of fonts. I'd have to read the document to completion to find what I was looking for. How can we speed this up? Titles and headings, of course, but as it currently stands, these aren't much more useful than just reading the document to completion. How can we make them stand out? Well, by making them bigger, bolder, and more colourful. And that's where font hierarchy comes in. The goal of font hierarchy is to hold your hand through a text. To read about the origin of fonts, I'd first look for the correct title, appropriate header, and finally the paragraph. But what can we vary to create a font hierarchy? Here are some examples. You can vary the colour, font, line thickness, capitalization, spacing, or size. There is certainly a proper way of doing this, but in the mind of having a go, just create a combination of things that look good. Most combinations can look good, assuming the style is consistent throughout. Now onto the good stuff, games. How can we relate this to games? Look at the classic Donkey Kong. Even in its limited storage and detail, it makes the numbers white, which stand out against the red or blue text, because the numbers is what's most important to the player. Look at the Battle Royale game Brawl Stars. Use of colour, size, and capitalization to draw your attention to certain parts of the screen. The title is capitalized, the subheader is in green, and there's a gap before the sign paragraph text. You might like to think about the effect this variation has on you. The colouring book word of Chicory might go against the hierarchy pattern so far. In settings, each header is smaller than the paragraph text. This is because it's more important that the player can see what they want to change than where it's located. And when an option is selected, the text is made even larger to keep the player's attention, as that's the most important part of the screen. Something else you consider is whether you need text at all. In the main crux of gameplay, in the traffic management game Mini Motorways, text is reserved for explanations and subtle map labels. Ask yourself, can your game's text be condensed into a symbol? Symbols can reduce the read time immensely, but if the user doesn't understand what a symbol represents, it's no better than a lengthy paragraph. It's often good to have a combination of text and symbols. Fonts also don't have to be that legible. A game's visual style can decide a font choice or hierarchy for you. In the paint shooter game, Splatoon 3 varies between rather difficult to read fonts as it works well with its graffiti paint style. If you take away one thing, it should just be to try something. Spice up what you currently do with a new font, colour or size, and make sure the project is consistent by using the same formatting throughout. It can be a good starting place to create a 5-pointer hierarchy and apply it to your project. And not that I covered it, but fonts are protected under copyright just like everything else. Fonts from your computer may be okay for personal use and for printing, but uncommonly for games. Google Fonts has hundreds of open font licensed fonts for you to use. Thank you.